Hello, my dear gardeners. Are roses three-season plants? Meaning that they can be looking great, blossoming well, having great foliage, spring, summer and fall? Well, some of them yes, and some of them not. So today in this video, I'm going to talk about roses and how to keep them aesthetically looking beautiful even during the tough time of fall. My Lady of Shalott, my beloved rose in my garden. She has the best spot, she has the best sun, but at the end of the season her bottom is very bare. She loses all her bottom leaves due to black spot. And since I'm not using any artificial stuff, any chemicals in my garden, I make sure that I stay very well on top of collecting all her leaves, diseased leaves, from her stems and from anything which is falling on the ground. But also what I'm doing, since Lady of Shalott has this very funny tendency to create at the end of the season these long arching stems. What I do with these stems, I don't want to keep my Lady of Shalott as a climber, so eventually I will be cutting all these stems down, but for now I am circling them around, twisting them around, putting them among other foliage and securing them among other stems. This way my Lady of Shalott has all the foliage, new foliage, to collect sun rays and store the energy for the winter, maybe even giving me several blooms at the end of these long stems, and keep herself looking a little bit more or less with foliage and nice and appealing looking. So even if at the bottom of the shrub I have a lot of loss of leaves, I know that my Lady of Shalott is going to go into the winter healthy and have a wonderful growth next year because of all this green foliage here. So when you have a shrub which is between climber and a shrub and it sends out these long stems, don't rush to cut them down. Make sure that your rose collects all the sun rays, all the energy, and then when leaves in the end of the fall starts to fall down by themselves, rose goes down into the dormancy, then you can cut these long stems down. Somewhere here I do it, somewhere at this level. Why do I do it? It's very important because you don't want your stems to rub against each other in winter, so the winter cold days with wind, and damage each other. So that's what I do with Lady of Shalott, which is somewhat prone to black spot. And what I did also to this shrub, I made sure that I planted this low hedge of boxwoods. So eventually when my boxwoods will mature, this is, I believe, would be their third year in the ground. So the hope is, once these boxwoods mature, they will mask my Lady of Shalott, the bare feet of Lady of Shalott. So you can do that too. Mask the feet of your rose with other annuals and perennials. Well, I heard the advice which experienced rosarian gave to other beginner rosarians who worry about roses' health at the end of the season and roses' appearance. And they said, well, just ignore that time when roses are without any foliage. Just don't look at them. Well, my advice would be, as long as your roses are healthy and they do have some foliage to carry them through the end of the season, I wouldn't worry too much about it. But if your roses are so sick and so diseased that they lost all their foliage, then something has to be done about it. Either go for disease-resistant varieties, and I understand there are rose collectors, there are roses which were growing probably in your mother's garden and you want to keep those roses going. So you might look into the systemic treatments of roses. I don't do any systemics on my roses. I try to grow them organically. And it is a struggle at the end because you see all those fallen leaves, and again I try to collect them. So it's up to the gardener how much unsightly appearance they can tolerate. But I think that we should, because we can't demand from roses to be a three-season performance. Really, there are very rarely plants in our gardens which are performing magnificently through spring, summer and fall. So my opinion is that we cannot demand that performance from roses, and we should give them a little bit of a break in the fall, as long as our roses are not completely defoliated by the disease. So I would be interested to listen to your ideas, my dear rosarians. Please share your experiences and let's garden together. Happy gardening, and I will see you in my next video.